Hello, Moonshelly Kevin here, and today I'm going to be talking about Fantasian. Fantasian, the wonderful 2021 JRPG. Now, granted, this is only part one of two. We're going to be talking about part one today. This one is put out by Miss Walker Studios. It is created by Hironobu Sakaguchi, an absolute legend in the realm of Japanese RPGs. I guess you want to also extend that to gaming in general, a very influential man in gaming history. Music by Nobuo Uematsu. I believe I heard that this is actually going to be his last complete score. I don't know if that is true or not. That's just what I've heard. And they have come together to put out this wonderful game that I have been enjoying. I'm honestly only about an hour in, so I'm only going to give you my first impressions just off of the first hour. And I know that this game came out already. I know that this game came out back in April, but I was too busy working on my own comic over here, May Plus Amy, the wonderful webcomic that you could read for free at Dissect My Brain Comics on Instagram. One more time, you could read this for free at Dissect My Brain Comics on Instagram. It's a thick book. You guys can see these are my original drawings. They could definitely go hurt person. But it doesn't hurt to read them. So you could read them right now at Dissect My Brain Comics. My plan is to eventually get this in print as well as to distribute it on other webcomic distributions, possibly Line Webtoon, possibly Tapas. But that's neither here nor there. Today we're going to be talking about Fantasian. And I guess you could connect it because me personally, I love writing characters. I love writing compelling stories, but me personally, I'm always a character guy at heart, and you're seeing some goofy characters that I'm sure I will remember for the rest of my life, right here, the Cinderella Tri-Stars in this game, Fantasian. So I feel like every video that I've seen about Fantasian always mention a couple things. They always mention how you can't say these names right. You can't say Hironobu Sakaguchi and Nobuo Uematsu right. So there we go. Check that off. I'm not saying it right. I don't know. Maybe I am. Maybe I am. Maybe I ain't. Who knows? The second thing I always hear people say is how much this game reminds them of Final Fantasy, and it should, right? This is by the creator of Final Fantasy himself, Hironobu Sakaguchi, who again worked on Final Fantasy 1, I believe, all the way up until I want to say 10 is where he was at. Either way, it does have that classic feel. It definitely feels a lot like a spiritual successor to it really feels like, and I heard this on someone else's review say this, that it really feels like this is a lost PS1 game or a lost PS2 game. Like, what if Sakaguchi continued the Final Fantasy series after 9, around 9 or 10, right? This feels like a throwback to that general area. It definitely feels more like 9 and below. You get more of the classic turn-based combat. You got, a lot of exploration to do in cities. You have a world map, but it's definitely not 100% just this old school experience. There are some quality of life improvements for sure that I'm sure we'll talk about in a bit, especially when it comes to grinding. You guys can see that you have kind of the queue line over here on the bottom right-hand corner, so you know whose turn it is. Very reminiscent of Final Fantasy X. I don't believe I show this within this gameplay, but yeah, there's other quality of life things. Like if you level up, you automatically heal. And then there's things that are completely old school. Like if you need to save your game, you better go to that save point. It is not going to autosave. I've heard people say that this is a downside, but me personally, I think it's a plus side. Y'all need to be responsible. Y'all need to save your game. So let's not be lazy. Don't be spoiled. All right. Games need to be a challenge. I mean, this game is already, it doesn't feel like that much of a challenge so far. I mean, not that the Final Fantasy games ever really were that challenging. But the least you can do is at least save your goddamn game, right? The third thing that I always hear people mention is how it stinks that this thing is on Apple Arcade and nothing else. Now, like I mentioned, in April, I was working on my comic. In May, I put out the comic, as well as worked on some more comic strips. I watched Resident Arc's video on on with an interview with Hironobu Sakaguchi, and I decided, hey, I got to go run out and play this game. Originally, I was going to reward myself and play a game at the end of putting out my comic. The original idea was that I was going to go play Deception 4, the Nightmare Princess of all random things that's just sitting on my shelf. So, yeah, once I saw that this game was out, I was like, okay, I got to go pick up this game. I went on to OfferUp, saw that someone in downtown LA, about a few miles away from where I live, has a Apple TV device for sale. He was selling it for $80, and I figured, okay, why not? Now's the time to jump on this, pick up this game, and hopefully I would enjoy it. So, and I do. I'm only about an hour in. Like I said, super impressed with what I've played so far. And yeah, I know it kind of stinks that this game is only on Apple Arcade, but I think of it this way. It's like, I honestly want to believe that this game is going to be ported at some point. But if it doesn't, it's not that big of a deal to me. I think that we've gotten to a point where we expect things to come to us, where we've come as a society where we just want things thrown at us. Like, I'm not like a shill for Apple or whatever, but I think, like, if this game is very important to you, if this game appeals to you, you aren't gonna let the console that it's on stop you from playing this game. Like I said, iPhone device, you could play this. iPad, you could play this. You could play this on the Apple TV, which is my preferred way, the way that I'm playing it. I like the feeling of having a PS4 controller in my hand, playing something so reminiscent of the classic PlayStation era, and playing this game. So, I don't know. I'm not going to say that, if you have a way of emulating this game, you should do it. But I'm just saying, like, you should definitely play this game. And me personally, if this game comes out on any other console, I will buy it. I'm supporting it right now through Apple Arcade, the subscription series service. If you aren't familiar, you subscribe. I think it's roughly like $5 a month, and you have whole access to this video game library, which are all full games, not like gotcha, money games. And you get to play whatever games are on there, and that's how you get to play Fantasian. So it bums me out. I want to physically own this game. I want to physically own merchandise in this game. This game is so important to me. When something's important to me, I want to have some sort of physical, tangible thing of the game in my life. But right now, the one thing that you can have is have this on your Apple TV service, which is what I'm doing right now. But please, Mr. Walker, you can have my money. Like, it prints money if you just put this on something else. But if this is the one way that you could play this game, I mean, I think the last story was stuck on the Wii. Lost Odyssey Blue Dragon was stuck on, I think that was 360 or Xbox. I can't remember. So if it's stuck here, this is the one way to play it. Well, I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. You got to come to it. It won't come to you. It kind of reminds me, I'm really big into these bad idea comic books recently. And, the only way to get them is through print floppies by going to the comic store. And when they asked the CEO, president, Dinesh Shamdasani, of why are they going this way? Why are they not doing the route of huge mass distribution? And their whole ethos is that they would rather have the hardcore rabid fan base follow the product, do the work for them, than have it be the other way around. So, highly recommend it. I trust me, I'm super bummed. I wish this was on everything. I think it deserves to be on everything. But, if you're like me and you want this classic Final Fantasy feel, then I'm sorry. This is the only way to do it. I hope eventually it'll come out on other platforms, but right now this is the one way to do it. And at least I could say playing it on the Apple TV has been a great, fantastic, no pun intended, experience. So this game, like I said, very rooted in Final Fantasy, in regards to influence. You could see already in this protagonist over here, he looks ridiculous, which in classic Final Fantasy fashion, the character is ridiculous. And as I'm sure a lot of people have pointed out, he has amnesia. He doesn't remember who he is. So there we go. You got your hook right here. A lot of protagonists also don't have amnesia. much like Cloud. You have over here this girl Kina, who is very connected to nature, and I wouldn't be remiss to say that she definitely follows the archetype of someone like Aerith, definitely more magic based. And yeah, I'm already just digging the love and look. You guys could see, I'm sure everyone's already pointed out that they've got like a diorama feel to the sets, the back sets. And gameplay is classic, turn based. I love Persona, I love Dragon Quest, but when I booted up Final Fantasy, God, what was it? The one with Noctis, 15. Yeah, when you boot up 15 and it says like, this is a Final Fantasy for old and new. I forgot what the line exactly was. This is a Final Fantasy for newcomers and oldcomers. I think this is more in line with a Final Fantasy for newcomers and oldcomers. This feeling, like I said, the story pacing of Hironobu Sakaguchi, the way he tells his stories is so well done. Like you're never bored playing these games. Like, don't get me wrong, you might be bored right now watching this game, but playing this game is an absolute joy to play. I think back to like last year playing the Final Fantasy VII remake, and it's a great game in its own right, but there are some pacing issues. There are some real head scratchers within the first hour, and within this first hour, I feel like nothing is wasted when it comes to this. Can we really actually talk about this game without mentioning Final Fantasy? I guess it's kind of hard. And I think that's what I'd be kind of curious to hear from. If you're someone who's completely new to the JRPG genre, how are you enjoying this game? Are you enjoying this game? Are you even discovering this game at all? I think back to when I was in middle school playing Final Fantasy 3 for the first time, and it just blowing my mind. Like this is what video games can be, the storytelling, the presentation, the music. And then Final Fantasy 7 just like ramped that up, like it just became another like, wow, games can be better than movies. Games can have a story, they can have, huge music swells that move you. They could have like dialogue that just expounds on the human condition. They could be philosophical, they could make you laugh, they could make you cry, they could do all sorts of these things. And those Final Fantasy games are what did it for me. Like Final Fantasy 6 was my first, Final Fantasy 3 on the Super Nintendo, Final Fantasy 7, and like 8 and 9, love them just as well. 9's really good. I like 8 for what it is. I know some people don't. I still really like 8. I understand. I think the only thing is like the gameplay is a little broken, but I that's still another one that was a bit of a tearjerker for me, and even the games before that, like 4 and 5, just fantastic games. All of them around have a lot of humanity to them, which is what you want in art. And I don't want to keep dwelling on the past, because for me, it's like, I want new people to discover JRPGs. I want new people to discover the magic. And this is the kind of game that I think anybody should go pick up. That's my big fear. My big fear is that, this game is only going to be experienced by people in their 30s and 40s. You're already playing to the crowd, but I want some kid today to play these games and have this be their first RPG and have this be their first experience. And I think there's a lot you can learn from playing a JRPG, just getting into the mindset of these different characters and empathizing with them. And, you could apply that to life as well. Like you could empathize with other people. It just, I don't know. I think there's a lot that you can learn from JRPGs that, that something like this game can fill that void. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, there's Dragon Quest and there's Persona, and I love those games too, but there's something about the magic of a Hironobu Sakaguchi produced JRPG that just, just hits me in the right spot. So anyways, that's my ramblings on Fantasian. Maybe I didn't really talk too much about the game itself. It's great. Like I said, pretty standard stuff. Definitely streamlined and old school. It's like a nice combination mix between the two. I didn't even mention, I think I might have hinted at earlier, there's a thing called Dimension. This is actually right before you get to Dimension. I don't think we're gonna get to that footage just yet, but there's a workaround where you could either just go through these maps as normally as possible, just like in any JRPG, just walking around fighting random battles, or you could do the Dimension, which is like this monster capturing device, and you could fight them all in a big group. Now, thankfully, in this game, they give you a lot of area effect AoE attacks, so that when you do fight the huge groups, it's a little bit more tolerable. But yeah, you could use the Dimension to do one of two things. You can either fight the game like normal, like you're seeing right here, in turn-based battles, or you could use the Dimension to basically create a giant battle. Like you could skip all these random battles. I think that the max is like 30 monsters. You could skip all these random battles. Meanwhile, your character is like absorbing these monsters, and once this like machine, the Dimension, fills up and you have way too many monsters that you have to fight them in a big group. So it's your choice. Like you get to play this game the way you want. You could either walk around playing the game traditionally, or you could skip a lot of grind battles, but you have to fight like a huge battle at some point as a result. So it's like kind of like a risk reward kind of thing. What do you want to do? All right. With how you want to play this game. So, yeah, I didn't mention that. I guess this isn't the most in-depth review of Fantasian. Again, I'm only about an hour and 30 in. Definitely enjoying this game. Check it out. What about you guys? Are you guys playing this game? What do you think? Hopefully you guys are checking this out. Hopefully you guys aren't letting the Apple Arcade exclusivity stopping you from playing this game. I'm telling you, I got chills. I got chills within the first 30 minutes of this game. I just like, I was feeling it. The opener really grips and grabs your attention. So, guys, what do you guys think? I'm sorry, I don't think this was the most coherent video. I was just rambling, but I just love this game. And sometimes when you love something so much, you can't really put it into words. You could try your best, but sometimes what comes out is what comes out. So, I will probably come back and tell you later what I thought when I do finish the game. And definitely looking forward to part 2. And that is it. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a wonderful day. Bye.